start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Brendon. I wonder if you could clarify, first of all, how the end of the test job came about. It said you stood down, but also that you were gutted and you accepted the decision. What was the play there?
I got a tap on the shoulder. And obviously I was disappointed initially. Well, I am disappointed, not just initially, I am disappointed, but at the same time I fully respect the decision. We're in a results business and our results weren't good enough, and fundamentally it's time for someone else to have a go.
How, in a broad sense, how do you reflect on your time as test coach? Do you feel like you're leaving a better team behind than the one you picked up?
That's probably for other people to assess. From my point of view, I've absolutely loved the last 4 years. I think I've felt incredibly privileged to be in the position that I've been in as England men's test head coach, and I feel, over the course of 20 odd years in this sport, the last 4 years have been possibly the biggest highlight that I've had. I've always been incredibly grateful for the opportunity. I've felt humbled to be in that position, and fundamentally just wanted to try and get the best outcome for English cricket, for all those that support the team, to try and get the best out of the players and get the level of performance that everyone was wanting, and I thank everyone for their involvement, their commitment and their investment in what we've tried to do over the last 4 and a bit years. And I think fundamentally, again, we just weren't quite able to win those big series. The series against India, series against Australia, the 2 marquee series. We weren't able to get the results in those, and for that, I guess I can only say sorry.
I guess by the fact you're here talking to us today, we see that it's not a clean break. You've had the tap on the shoulder, but only on one shoulder. You're still good. Is that? How do you feel about the split coaching? Obviously, you experienced it with Matthew Mott at the start. Is there, when you took it across all formats, clearly that was the idea that you thought maybe it worked better, one voice across the 2 jobs?
Yeah, look, I think I'm super excited about the white ball side. I think the T20 side is obviously in a pretty good space at the moment. The one-day side, we've got some work to do, which I'm confident that we'll be able to continue to make improvements. A lot of the T20 side are now obviously involved in the one-day side as well. So, whilst it's a different game, there's some nuances which are quite similar, and we just need to find a way to be able to do it for longer across the 50 over contest. And I think of the opportunity in front of us. I've got the enthusiasm for it. I've got the encouragement to be able to go out there and try and get this team to a level that it needs to. And I think with the World Cup not too far away, we've got an opportunity to be able to get ourselves in a position where we're a realistic chance of lifting the trophy for not just the guys in the dressing room, but also all the fans that support this team as well. That's where my focus is at the moment, and I guess I'm quite fortunate. Motti is a good mate of mine as well, and he was probably a little bit unlucky that he didn't maybe get the contact time, but he maybe didn't quite have the relationships when he first came in, because he didn't get that contact time. I'm in a fortunate position where I've had those relationships have been built over a period, and maybe a little bit of reduced contact time, it won't be such a big problem. So, there's lots to unpick. There's still a lot of things that's still obviously pretty fresh, and there's not even a test coach in place at the moment. And so when they are announced, then we'll work collaboratively together to make sure that across all 3 forms of the game, we're able to get what's right for English cricket.
And I think, a week or so ago, we were asking you about Harry Brook as a potential test captain when you were test coach. Does your assessment of that change now that you're not in charge of that team? Are you going to be sort of scrapping for custody of Harry?
I think you know what I think of Harry. I think my level of affection for Harry as a player, as a person, and also as a captain. I think as a tactician, he's as good as I've seen in the game at such a young age, and he's clearly growing at great speed in terms of his leadership as well. And I think we're in a very privileged position with Harry in English cricket. He's totally committed to English cricket as well. He doesn't play any other franchise cricket around the world. He's set his stall out with his commitment to English cricket, and obviously the 100 being the marquee white ball tournament here in England. I sort of throw that under the same umbrella of English cricket. Of course, I would like Harry to carry on and us working together, and I'm sure myself and the new Test coach will have a good conversation over it.
Yes.
Hi, Baz. We spoke to Richard Gould yesterday, and he mentioned the conversations have been going on for about a week or so. I was wondering if you could give us, I suppose, the timeline of, when those conversations started, because obviously you end that third test, you go immediately into the T20 series. So, just from your perspective, how it all panned out.
Yeah, look, I think the actual timing of it is not really the most important, because I think you can't understand a little bit of 3D chess at times where you can see what's unfolding and you can see how things work. So, I think from my point of view, it was never about trying to deal in the void of the noise or the uncertainty around, are you going to carry on in that job or not? My focus was very much on trying to make sure that we could perform on the field. You could make sure that you were able to detach that uncertainty and not allow other people to see what was going on, and just focus on trying to get the best out of your team and stay focused on trying to get the results. So, the relationship with the ECB has been outstanding, I must say. I think, I've had a lot of incredible support over the last 4 years, and particularly over the last 6 to 12 months, from obviously Keezy and Richard Gould, Richard Thompson, the board, all those at English Cricket. It's an organisation which has been, they have to get results too, right? And fundamentally, I knew that when I took the job, and so I totally respect the decision, and it was done in good grace, and we obviously moved forward in the white ball. But I thank everyone for the opportunity that I had over the last 4 years in the test side.
Were you able to, I suppose, make one last pitch to keep her on? Or did you?
No.
George, do you want me to use the mic? Yeah. That is Miss Lawrence.
What's I going to ask you? You came into the job, I guess, without a lot of Red Bull experience as coach. I wondered whether you thought in the end that mattered, and from there, is there anything that you know now that you wish you'd known coming in?
Yeah, there's lots of things which I know now which I probably didn't know back then. I think that's just a natural sort of maturing and understanding and learning on the role. There's a lot more about English cricket which I know now that I didn't know at the start as well. Built some very good relationships, a very good understanding of the broader structure within English cricket, and it probably in the last 6 to 12 months, 6 months in particular, I think I've probably been across that a lot more as well. So I think that's a benefit in terms of the white ball side moving forward, that you do have a bit more depth to it. For me, when I took over the Red Bull job, I know I didn't have any of that Red Bull coaching experience. I felt like I had experience being able to try and build teams and understand or develop cultures to try and hopefully buy into a vision or a style of play that you wanted to implement. Now, I didn't always get it right, and there was some good days, but there was also some days which we weren't able to achieve it. And for that, as the leader of the team and as the head coach, and you are responsible for the environment and for the results. And for that, I put my hand up and say we weren't able to get there.
Do you feel at all that the method was, in retrospect, a little bit simplistic?
I guess it depends on your assessment of it. For me, it was never the terminology which was thrust out there. It was never about that. It was never about scoring rates. It was never about playing recklessly. It was never about sort of trying to be cavalier in our way of going about things. My method is about trying to build an environment and build a culture where people are able to be the best versions of themselves so that they can handle the pressure moments when they're at their highest. We didn't always get it right, and I accept that. But the motivation for it was sound. I think what I've understood a little bit more over the last little bit is that you need to ensure that the tactics are able to penetrate the arena as well, so that you're able to compete with teams who are playing a lot smarter, who are playing with a lot more understanding of the nuances of the game, and make sure you're on par with that, if not better. And so I think we've seen it a little bit in T20 in the last little bit, just trying to be a bit more creative, make sure we're pushing the boys to be stronger, fitter, faster and smarter about how we operate, and make sure that we're able to do that when the pressure's at its highest. And that's we didn't always get that right, and again I put my hand up for that, but I think I've got some good knowledge around that stuff now, and some good knowledge of English cricket, and I've got the enthusiasm and drive to try and take this white ball side forward.
Thank you. Lawrence, and then Nick, and then.
Hi, Buzz. I guess it's fair to say that a big part of the reason you don't have the test job now is because you lost that series to New Zealand, but it all started to unravel effectively after the last night at Lord's, stuff that was out of your control that night. Do you feel it's fair that you paid the price for something that was effectively triggered by other people's actions?
Again, I think Lawrence, like for me, I was the leader of that group. I was in charge of the team culturally, in charge of the team tactically, in charge of the team results-wise as well. And if you don't get the results, being a results business, fundamentally you get replaced. And I'm not unaccustomed to that. I've been around this game for 20 odd years, and I know that if you ain't getting the results, then someone else needs an opportunity. So I'll put my hand up for that and accept that it wasn't good enough.
Nick. And now it'll come to you. Sorry.
You said it was thrust upon you. Do you think that Bazball name became a bit of a burden?
I really like the terminology of things, as you guys are well aware. For me, it was never about that. It was about trying to get the best out of these guys, trying to initially bring some joy and some enthusiasm back into understanding that these guys have options outside of playing for their country. They have options which have a lot less scrutiny, earn a lot more money, and have a lot less demands on them. And we wanted to create an environment on the back of obviously COVID and some poor performances beforehand, where guys were excited about jumping in the car to drive to Lord's to meet up with the English cricket team, and they were excited about taking on opposition teams and dealing with the scrutiny and being able to handle that, and to ultimately want to choose playing for England over the other option, which is comes with a lot less scrutiny around it. So that was initially what we were trying to create. And then as we went along, it was about trying to have an identity of how you wanted to play, and to try and play with a sense of freedom whilst also understanding big moments, and try and transfer pressure onto the opposition and see how the opposition handled it. If they could stand up to you, then okay. Then I guess your methods, but things evolve and things change, and teams naturally, the personnel adjusts. And I think during that time we just weren't quite able to succinctly nail everything we wanted, and hence when those pressure moments did arise in the biggest series, I think that was fine in some of the other series, but in the bigger series, and the pressure was at its highest, we just unfortunately we weren't able to achieve it. And again, for that I put my hand up.
Did Bazball help? Did that make it harder?
I'm not really into those sort of terminologies, I'll say.
Ali? The conch.
Yeah. I just wondering, do you think one of the hardest parts of the job, I mean, in terms of the team you inherited in 22, you had a lot of experienced players there, and as those guys have gradually hit their 30s and then dropped off, as the hardest bit of the job in actually bringing through the next lot, because that seems to be, as more retirements have occurred, results have gone with them, and maybe some of them, I mean, you talk a lot about there being talent in English cricket, but maybe I guess it's more potential than talent is, and that it's converting that potential into outcome has probably been where you may have fallen short here.
Yeah, look, I think all teams evolve, right? No one can play forever, so there's always a natural period where you lose some experience, and the job of a coach is also, it's not just to get the very last bit of sort of performance out of your most mature players. It's trying to future-proof for time well after you leave the job. You're trying to ensure that, for the next coach that takes over, they've got a wider resource base to be able to pick from. Now they may pick different players, and that's fine, but at least you're trying to leave options on the table, and you're trying to build depth and resource within the structure. So it can be difficult to do that, and ideally you have a kind of a nice moulding period throughout where the experience drops off, and then you get one or two younger players, but they're still experienced players, and it's not always perfect, but you know that's the plan that you're working to. And I do genuinely feel like, you know, the next coach and the next period for the Test side is super exciting. You have a look at the amount of fast bowlers which have been developed who are still very much early in their careers, but there's immense amount of talent. There's obviously some good strong leaders within the setup as well. You know, there'll be different challenges for whoever takes over, but I've absolute confidence that, you know, the freshness of them and something else, you know, fresh ideas and a fresh look at things will, with a good player base to pick from, will give them a good opportunity.
Do you sort of wonder whether, I mean, England supporters will be wondering whether maybe if this change had happened earlier in the year, that Ben Stokes might still be England Test captain. Is that possible?
I think Stokes. You guys have spoken to Stokes enough, and I think he was very clear about, you know, his words had come to the end. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Stokesy for this, but you guys have heard him speak enough about it.
Yeah, sure. And just from your point of view, with the new Test head coach coming in, from your point of view, how is that relationship going to work? Because there will be times when resources will need to be divvied up, and also that, you know, players may get one set of messaging in one dressing room, switch to the other format. Things are different. That we have seen in the past, create confusion. So how do you sort of, from your side of it, how do you intend to approach that and help the other person with their team?
Yeah, look, I think once the new coach comes into play, then we'll sit down and we'll work, you know, unpick a lot of the stuff and work out, as you say, you've got different staffing, you've got different players, schedules are different, obviously captaincy discussions. There's a lot to unpick, but as long as both of our motives are going to be sound, that's what's right for English cricket. How do we ensure we give English cricket the opportunity to get to the levels that it wants across all three forms of the game? So I'm sure that'll be a collaborative process, and I look forward to it when that time comes.
Nice one, Fish. We'll finish with you.
Sorry, that's one last. In hindsight, do you perhaps regret taking on that all-format coaching role at the start of last year? Not necessarily because of what you've done with the teams, but I suppose just on your own time and your own resources, because of the state of the schedule, because of having to go, you know, for a bigger pool and the amount of travel as well. Has that, I suppose, accelerated you getting to this point where you're now no longer Test head coach?
No, look, I don't really. From my point of view, I loved it. I absolutely loved the opportunity. I never took it for granted. The enthusiasm with which every day you'd wake up, because you know it's at the pointy end of the market. It's a very privileged position to be in, and you're dealing with some unbelievable players, and the stakes are high. Like that gets you going. Like that doesn't tire you out. That gets you going. So I absolutely loved every bit of it, and you know, it is what it is. Fundamentally, it was just the results weren't what they needed to be, and hence the decision was made. And now my focus is very much on the white ball stuff, and trying to get that to a stage where we get to a stage where we're able to lift trophies and be a good representation of the English people, and obviously all those that support this team. And also, I wish the new Test coach, when that does get appointed, I wish them all the best as well. There's a great bunch of lads in there. They're fiercely driven to perform, and they're desperate for success as well. And whilst, you know, you're disappointed that you won't be the one there sort of helping steer them, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be watching and be proud of the achievements that they have.
Just on that as well, because you've been through so much with them, were you able to tell them yourself about, you know, I suppose the change in roles, or did they find out yesterday through, I suppose, the media?
I didn't ring everyone, but there's been a few players that have played over the last little while, but I certainly picked off a few of the guys who have been around for a lot of it, and yeah, it's been some great communication. And again, like, just because you're leaving the role doesn't mean you're not dying. Like you're leaving the role, and the relationships still remain in place, and I'll always be there for them without overreaching at any stage. Respectfully, I'll always be there for them if they need anything really, whether that's anything to do with cricket or life in general. That's how I work as a person. I like to operate like that and build those friendships and relationships that last long after your time in the job.
I'm also mindful there's a game tomorrow. Any team news?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Easy to forget.
Yeah. Right. Duckett, Bethel at the top. Joe Root, Harry Brook, Josh Butler, Sam Curran, Will Jacks, Jofra Archer, Liam Dawson, Josh Tung, and Adil Rashid.
Easy as that.
Stop.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.